Good evening, I'm Lauren McCoy. Breaking tonight, LSU fires head football coach Brian Kelly. Garland Gillen is here in studio with LSU's decision and what this means for the program.
That's right. On the day after his 64th birthday, Brian Kelly is out as the head coach of LSU. The Tigers fired Kelly with 4 games left in the season, and it's also his 4th year in Baton Rouge. Brian Kelly's final game as the head coach of the LSU Tigers was one of the lowest points for the program. The Purple and Gold were outscored 35-7 in the second half, knocking them out of the playoffs. After the game, Kelly was asked, was this the end for him in Baton Rouge?
That's out of my hands. It's impossible for the head coach that's been here, for 4 years and 35 years of doing this, to think anything else but this is my responsibility. That's not my decision in terms of whether I'm here or not, but that's what I will do as a head coach that's been doing it for over 3 decades. When things are not going well from a football standpoint, the head football coach has to be agile enough and able to make those changes.
Kelly's buyout is $54 million with 6 years remaining on the deal. Kelly would be paid 90% of his salary through the remainder of his contract. New Orleans native Frank Wilson will be the Tigers' interim head coach, and LSU OC Joe Sloan also has been fired. All right, we're now joined by Jeff Duncan of NOLA.com, the Tom-Picayune. First off, Jeff, 4 games left in the season. Are you surprised that they did it now, that the powers that be at LSU, who's ever making these decisions, if it's Scott Woodward, the AD, it's the governor, are you surprised about the timing?
No, look, nothing with LSU ever surprised me. LSU athletics has a long history of making sometimes rash decisions, sometimes emotional decisions. We live in a very emotional state. And LSU being the flagship school, there's such a passionate following for LSU football. And the way things had turned so quickly, I feel like there had to be some major changes after that game. And the fact that it escalated so quickly to include Brian Kelly among those changes is not really that surprising if you know the long track record of these kind of things at LSU.
Why didn't it work at LSU for Brian Kelly? He came from Notre Dame, made it to a national championship against Alabama. They got beaten that game, but he made it to a national title game. Not a lot of success. Got the one SEC championship game, but other than that, it has been a failure for Brian Kelly here.
Yeah, I mean, he's won games, but he hasn't won at the rate that I think anyone expected. I think the landscape of college football changing. They were slow to adapt to some degree with the transfer portal, with NIL. I think they had fixed that largely. But this season, make no mistake, this season was a regression. It was a step back. Everyone had pointed to this season being the year that LSU finally turns the corner, gets over the top, gets into the college football playoff, and the fact that they had already kind of been eliminated from that conversation so quickly into this season, you could just see the wheels started turning down in Baton Rouge, and it was going to be difficult for him to recover from it.
Finally, Penn State jobs already open, Florida jobs already open, Florida State, other big-name schools could have openings. Where does LSU go? What does the list look like for the next head coach of the Purple and Gold?
Well, look, it's a complicated situation because there is no president there right now. Scott Woodward, the AD, has been cut out of some of the decision-making. I think it's going to be a complicated situation for LSU. First of all, it is an attractive job. It is one of the top 5 jobs in all of college football. But there are political landmines in coaching the football team at LSU. It's always been that way, Garland. So I think it's going to be interesting to see who they can attract. The job itself, I think, is very attractive because it's the only state school in, really powerhouse program in the state of Louisiana. They don't have competition for recruits. They don't have competition for resources. You can win national titles here, as we've seen Les Miles, Ed Ogeron, and Nick Saban do it. But there are other things that are detractors to this job, including the politics that we saw take down Brian Kelly this weekend. Having said that, I think you're going to hear names like Eli Drinkwitz. I think John Summerall at Tulane will also be considered in that mix. And the first call I would make, whoever's making this decision, would be to Nick Saban. I would find out if he is interested in getting back in his job. We know he loves Louisiana. We know he loved that job. I think I would at least make the call and make him say no.
All right, Nick Saban in the mix. All right, I like it, Jeff. Thanks for your time.